Hey guys, I'm Nicole Conte, the host of the Sweet Success podcast. I'm here with Erica Wilson and Taylar Posey. Erica is a therapist at the Olive Branch Counseling Center, and Taylar is a life coach at 4031 Life Coaching and Consulting right here in Alabaster, Alabama. And these wonderful ladies are going to talk to us, give us some practical tips on dealing with mental health and everything that comes along with it. Such a joy sometimes, right?
Right.
Now, guys, I know we've asked our listeners to send in questions, and I love knowing what do they want to know about. Erica, what are some things that you're seeing with our questions?
Specifically for this one, we're talking about the difference in mental health from men and women, which is a really big topic that I see a lot in my practice. And one question that came through was from a female that wants to know why she feels so anxious or on edge, and her husband doesn't seem to ever feel that way. And I think that is the common trend of what we see. And, you know, there are three females here that I think we can agree we feel some type of way sometimes, and
Right.
we're all three married and may see similar things with our husbands too. But what I would like to say as far as mental health goes with men and women, yes, it's very different, but it comes down to how we communicate, and how women communicate differently than how men communicate different. They communicate differently as well. Men will tend to not verbalize what's going on. And it may be a couple of days until they've actually processed in their mind what's going on, until they can voice to you what is happening. Maybe at work, maybe outside of work, maybe in a friend group. But we females tend to want to discuss what's going on and have that conversation right now. We also would like to know the answer and how to fix it and how to solve the problem of what we're going through. And that doesn't mean men don't feel that way. It just means that the difference is they are processing it a little longer than what we women might do. And then, you know, there are men who may process it quicker and do want to communicate about it. So there's no right or wrong way. But a lot of people do want to know the difference between why is it that men and women seem to process mental health differently. But I think the answer is the same for everything, is that we all do things differently. But I think women tend to believe men do not feel the things that we feel, or do not express the things that they feel. They just do it differently, and it may take them a little longer to actually process what they're feeling and verbalize what they're feeling.
So as a person in a marriage with two totally different ways of dealing and communicating, communication in itself has been so huge for us, right? How do we combat it then? So like, how, if we're constantly on two different wavelengths as far as how we're processing, how do we meet in the middle?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just knowing your partner and knowing how they communicate, or maybe their lack of communication. You know, like we've said, you know, this is not a one size fits all. There are some men that are very vocal and they want to go ahead and get it off their chest and they want to talk about it. And there are some women that are quieter. You know, we don't see that as much. You know, typically women do want to get it off their chest and let's figure out all the things, and they may not compartmentalize like men do. But I think knowing, if we're talking about marriages or a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, and even with your kids, knowing how the opposite sex, and knowing if you do have, you know, if you're married to someone of the opposite sex, or if your kids are of the opposite sex, knowing how your child or your spouse communicates and does in certain situations. So, for example, I'm a mom of two boys. My boys are very much like my husband. They don't want to talk about a lot of things. And as a mom, sometimes that's hard for me because I want to make sure they're okay. I want to make sure I can help if they need things. And I've learned that eventually they will talk about it in their time. Whereas I'm like, hey, what's going on? Tell me what's going on right now. But I do sometimes just have to wait for them to be ready to talk about it. So knowing the people in your life and knowing how they respond to things, I think is very important. Especially, with your spouse. If you know that, your husband might be quieter and it takes them a little bit longer to process it, maybe just give them that time and space to do that. And if your spouse is one that likes to chit chat and talk about it, we've learned about compromise in marriage, and sometimes you do just have to meet each other halfway. But one thing I've learned about boys, especially having two of them, boys' frontal lobes don't develop until the age of 25. So the fact that we as females, want to talk about things, and we tend to typically might make sounder decisions. Boys sometimes are a little bit slower in that, and that's okay. But I've had to, as a mom, recognize that, because when I ask my 11-year-old boy, what's wrong with you? He doesn't know.
Right.
He don't know what's wrong with him. He just thinks and does it, or doesn't think and does it. Let me rephrase that. He just reacts. So I think knowing your partner, knowing your kids, knowing the best way to approach them if there's an issue is going to go a long way.
And I think that is like the key, right? Figuring out how best to approach them. But I guess it's just kind of talking through that maybe, right? With your partner, with your kids, even friends relationships,
Right.
It's always important to let them know, too, that when you're ready to talk about it, I'll be here. Like when you're ready to talk about what you're going through or how you're feeling, I'm here to listen. Especially when it comes to the difference between men and women and how they handle even just communication. Just take out mental health, but communication as a whole. Sometimes it is harder for a man to vocalize what they're going through, because in society it's been looked at as being weak. And that's just not true. It's not men to be able to speak to their feelings or express their feelings. It is not a sign of weakness. But society has led so many men to feel as though as it is. And not just men, some women too.
Right.
Women have been taught too, even from a young age, to no, don't ever let them see you cry. Don't ever let them see you down. Don't ever let them see that it's bothered you.
Right.
It's just not true. And it creates this environment of, well, it's not a safe place to talk about my emotions. It's not a safe place to discuss really how I'm feeling. Because if I discuss really how I'm feeling, then they may think I'm weak or that I can't handle it. And it's just not true. And so I do think let your partner, your friend, your kids know, I know you're going through something right now. You've expressed a little bit of it to me, but when you're ready to tell me exactly what's going on and how you feel about it, then I'll be here to listen. And I think saying listen rather than I'll be here to tell you what to do is key, because not everyone, even as a therapist, like my job isn't to give advice, because if I give advice and that advice doesn't work, who do you blame? The therapist, right? So I do give suggestions on healthy living. I do help guide clients on what's best for their mental health. But if I were to just give advice all day long, I'm you can point at me if it doesn't work. And so that's one of the first things you learn in counseling school is that's just something that society has taught us too, is that they're just going to give me a lot of advice. So when my job is to listen and be able to guide someone to live a better, healthy, happier life. And when you talk to your spouse or your kids or your friends about what they're going through and you say, when you're ready, I listen. Because a lot of people just don't want to be told what to do. Especially if it's an emotional thing. They just need someone to listen. And that can go a long way.
I feel like that is a really good word, especially to a mother in my situation as a mother, I feel like I want to fix the situation with my child, whatever they're going through. So to sit back and truly just listen.
I know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Gosh,
It
that
is
is.
hard.
It is. But what
Yeah.
a great thing to really work on and try to do.
Right.
So let me ask this. So that is that is a wonderful tip to help. But let's say in the situation of I am the wife and my brain's going haywire, I need to unravel everything that is stressing me out or going on, or that I think my partner is dealing with. How can I do that without just causing this huge eruption? You know what I mean? Like, so, because saying, like, knowing that they have to process is one thing. But then if you're over here feeling anxious until it's resolved, what do we do here?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a lot of people, right?
That is a lot of people. I've been in that situation, actually.
Me too. Why do you think I'm asking?
I know. I can't lie and say it's easy. I mean, I've had to learn to wait until I'm calm. I've had to pray about it and wait until I'm calm, because it's not going to go very far if I am irrational and, talking a million miles a minute, and then my husband, he's not going to be able to receive it as well.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true.
So there are times where I've had to sit back and just say, you know what, I'm just going to have to wait. As much as it pains me, I'm just going to have to wait till tomorrow when maybe I've calmed down a little bit, or wait even later on in the day when this is not so fresh on my mind and I'm not so worked up about it, to be able to sit down and have a rational conversation. I know.
I mean, you're right. You're right, Taylor. But
I don't know.
I'm sitting here kind of processing and thinking that everything you guys are telling us, it's not easy.
No.
It's not always fun.
No.
But it is guiding us into living a healthier, more positive and productive life in so many different areas, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's okay to say it's hard.
It is
It's
hard.
a discipline.
Yeah.
It's a habit that we're going to
Right.
have to continue to
Yes,
work on,
and
right?
and it's something that is learned. You're not gonna. I mean, there are times I still do the things I know I probably shouldn't do. As far as I've got so much on my brain, and I'm just like word vomit. It's coming out, coming out. And so again, it's always going to be a working process. It's always a learning process. It's not like there are times where I have been calm and I've been able to be rational and discuss it. And then, a few months later, maybe something else comes up and then here it comes again. So you're not going to get it right every single time, but all we can do is try. You have the tools now to be able to at least try to wait and be rational to have a normal conversation.
Just make that next right decision.
Next right decision.
See, I don't know if you guys are understanding here, but these girls have a lot of knowledge in their heads, and I really do love the guidance that you're giving and the tips that you're giving. But I also think that it's great to listen to on a podcast, right? But having your own personal therapist or life coach to help you, because like you said, it's not going to be a one-time thing.
No.
Our lives are always going to be messy, and we need that guidance and that help. And I think having a therapist or a life coach to talk to help guide you, everyone can use help.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for people who have never been to therapy or life coaching before to know that there's no judgment, there's no bias. We are a second party that really is just there for you, like to benefit you.
Right.
And going for the first time is the scariest because one, you don't know who you're really meeting, and two, a lot of clients are very afraid of what they're going to find out about themselves. Yeah, and
That's right.
it really
Preach.
is just a conversation that we're working on with you and for you on your side for support, because usually what people bring into therapy isn't the true problem until we dig a little deeper. But I do want clients to know that there's no judgment, no bias. We're a second party for you to support you. And even that, and knowing that, why do I feel so nervous for this first time is natural.
Yeah. Sure.
But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a scary thing.
And I am hoping that this podcast will just continue to open up those doors, open up those conversations, to kind of open up people's minds to thinking about therapy and life coaching as just such a positive thing, and just continuing to create positivity in your life. So here's what we need from you guys, our amazing listeners. We want more questions. These girls want to know what you guys want to know about. So please send in your questions to Erica and to Taylar. Their contact info is right here in our podcast, and you can also find them on their social media, Olive Branch Counseling Center and 4031 Life Coaching and Consulting. Girls, y'all are the best. Thanks.
Oh, thank you,
Nicole.
You have been listening to the Sweet Success Podcast with licensed therapist Erica Wilson and certified life coach Taylar Posey. If you have questions or topics you'd like to have addressed on an upcoming podcast, please message Erica on Facebook at the Olive Branch Counseling Center or Taylar on Facebook at 4031 Life Coaching and Consulting. Spell out 4031. For more information on Erica Wilson and all that she offers, visit theolivebranchcounselingcenter.com. And for more information about Taylar Posey and her services, visit 4031.org. Spell out 4031. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to our next time together. Please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
This podcast is produced by yourpodcastnow.com. Let us produce a podcast for you.